1079 CDY, it's Cadillac Unscripted. It's sponsored by Independent Bank. It is Saturday morning, and we are taking a break from COVID-19 for a week to talk about a local guy who has made a dream come true.
It's so exciting.
It is. Ben Scripps is a friend of mine from our CMU days back in the mid to late-ish 90s.
Way back.
Mm-hmm. And I've known Ben for 25 years, and for 25 years I've known that Ben has had an affinity and a fanaticism for game shows.
I have to tell you, when I was a kid, in my baby memories book, my mom wrote that at the age of 2, my 2 favorite shows were Sesame Street and The Price is Right. That's a true story. It's absolutely true.
I love it. So this is truth, what we're dealing with the game shows. That is adorable.
And the reason why we had Ben in is because you don't really get to see a Cadillac person or a person from around the area on a game show. But on Monday night, you will see Ben Scripps on Jeopardy.
Oh, I'm going to get some butter popcorn for this one. I'm excited, Ben.
So, how long, can you tell me about the audition process to get on the show?
So it's a lengthy process. You start with an online test. There's a website, you go to Jeopardy.com, and there's a test you take. It's 50 questions. It's a timed test. And they don't tell you how you scored. They don't tell you what a passing score is. They just say, if we select you, we'll be in touch. If you get selected, and I took it probably 10 or 12 times over the past 12 or 14 years, if they select you, you get an email that says you've been selected for an audition. My audition was in Chicago. And so you go down to Chicago, you go to it's like in a conference room at a hotel, and they do another 50-question test in person, and then you play a mock game. It's not a competitive game. You just kind of play it just to show, so you can show, hey, I know how to play the game. I know how to hit the button and everything. And then afterwards, there's a brief, I think they call it a personality interview, where it's basically what do you do for a living? What do you like to do for fun? That sort of thing. And that's it. At the end of the interview, they tell you, okay, you're in the contestant pool for 18 months, and we'll call you if you get selected.
No kidding. Okay, do you find out how you did on... You don't.
They don't tell you anything. It is a very secretive process. They tell you absolutely nothing. They don't tell you how you scored. They don't tell you what a passing score is. They don't tell you how you did in the auditions. They tell you absolutely nothing. And you just have to sit by the phone and hope that someday you get a phone call from Culver City, California, which when my phone call came, I almost didn't answer it. Because
you thought it was a telemarketer.
I thought it was a robocall, and it just says a phone number. It says Culver City, California. I thought, wait a second, Jeopardy tapes, and let me take a chance at that. And I picked it up. I said hello, and they said, hi, is this Ben? And I thought, oh, that's it. It's Jeopardy.
Oh my goodness, that is so wonderful. It was your dream. So who'd you call first?
I called my dad the next day.
Awesome.
They called me. It was about 8:00 at night, because it's 3-hour difference out there.
Right.
I called my dad the next morning, and Dad had been kind of bugging me. They were in South Carolina for the winter, and he had been bugging me to come down and visit them. He said, "Oh, we got a place. We got a place. You can come down and stay and everything." And I called him and I said, "I was thinking about coming south." He said, "Oh, what? Great. We'll make up the room." And I said, "I was thinking of going somewhere else." "Where are you thinking?" I said, maybe a little farther west, maybe California. And I strung him along for about 2 minutes on that, where it was just
going dum 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 dum.
I was like, I was maybe around Culver City, and all of a sudden I just heard him go, "Oh, was it? Oh!"
I love it.
So, how often are you able to audition?
Well, you are
take the test, not audition, but take the test.
The test you take once every year.
Okay.
They do it. They've changed the process over the past year. I don't know how it works anymore. When I took it, which was about 1.5 years ago, you could take it once every year. They only did them once a year. I think they've changed the process where you can take it now anytime, but you'd have to check the website. But basically, you take the test. And then once you get into the audition, then you're in the contestant pool for that 18-month period, and you can't take the test again during the 18-month period.
Sure.
So you're kind of hoping that they call you. And they do tell you in the audition, they say, if we don't call you, keep trying. Because they say many people who have gotten on the show have gotten on their second or third, even fourth auditions.
Okay, Ben, so, we got nervous for SATs and ACTs and this kind of stuff. How nervous were you?
Not terribly nervous. It's I mean, but a lot of this stuff is stuff that I'm used to doing. I've been watching game shows for as long as I can remember. So this is just very natural for me to just rattle off these answers to these questions.
You have to tell our listeners what Mom wrote in your baby book. This is hysterical.
Yep, she wrote when I was 2 years old. She wrote my favorite TV shows were The Price is Right and Sesame Street at the age of 2. So
Bob Barker and Big Bird.
That's
okay. Now we want to go back to you get to Culver City and you're checking into your hotel and you're so excited. And now I know what women might be thinking is, okay, now what am I going to wear? Do they coach you on this kind of stuff?
They send you a little brochure. There's a whole packet of information. When they call you, they say, we'll be in touch. We'll send you the details. And you get this email, and it's got about 15 different files, and you print them out, and it's about 60 pages long. And it's contracts and legal agreements, and you can do this, and you can't do that, and all this stuff. And one of the things that's in there is a guideline on here's what you should wear on the TV. And it's stuff like, I mean, I didn't look a lot at the women's stuff, but for the guys, it was like, don't wear white shirts because it'll mess with cameras, and don't wear busy patterns on your shirt. And just, look smart, but don't, no blue jeans, for example, no sneakers and that sort of thing, which
You'd never see the feet.
That's what I thought. I thought, why can't I wear sneakers? Why can't I have comfortable feet? You're not going to see my feet on camera, but whatever. So
did you have like a pregame meal?
I didn't. No, you have to meet the shuttle. So if they have a couple of hotels where you stay. And you can stay anywhere you want to, but they have a couple of hotels where if you're staying in there, they will have a shuttle that comes and picks you up and takes you to the studio. So you don't have to worry about a rental car and all that stuff. The problem is the shuttle comes and picks you up at 7 in the morning.
Oh boy!
So it's like I know that's 10 a.m. out here. It's not a big deal. They told me that on the phone. She's like, you're gonna have to get up at like 7 in the morning. I was like, it's 10 a.m.
Right.
But you get up at 7 in the morning, and it's like I'm not even thinking about that. And so that day, I didn't eat a thing. I ate nothing.
Oh boy!
So, but it was okay because I'm used to doing that.
So, real quick, when we get into your game show love that Rich tells us about, what other game shows are you passionate about?
Oh, honestly, anything.
Really?
Anything. I love them all.
Oh.
You go back. This was the second time. In fact, this is the second time Alex and I were in the same studios. When I was a kid, we had a family vacation to California and got to see a taping of a show called Battle Stars, which he hosted. And yes, that was kind of my game show highlight of my life was I got to see this little obscure show when I was about 6 years old. But this was the second time. So.
So this was your first time attempting to get on the show?
Yeah. Well, I tried. I'd been auditioning, but this was my first audition.
Okay.
And then this was the first time that I got called, and they called me and they said, "Yeah, come on out."
How long from the time you auditioned to the time you got the phone call?
It was. I auditioned.
18 months is a long time.
It's a
sure
long
is.
window. Yeah. I didn't expect to get it. I figured there would be a long line of people because they told us in the audition, they said about 80,000 people take the test every year, and they see about 2,500 people in audition, and they have 400 slots a year.
Oh.
So I figured they've probably got a long list of people just waiting to get on the show. Maybe I'll get the call next year or something. And I auditioned in late August of 2019, and they called me in February of this year. So it was about a 6-month period.
Most people you would think would be motivated by, I'm going to win money. You had an entirely different motivator here. What was your mindset?
Multiple motivations.
Honestly, the money has always been secondary. Whatever money I may or may not win, it was always secondary. For me, it was, I want to be a Jeopardy champion.
Oh, I love it.
Everything is just, I don't care if I win with $1. I want to win. I want to be a Jeopardy. I want to be able to put somewhere, I am a Jeopardy champion. And so that was my entire motivation.
Ben, we have to tell our listeners because, I come busting into the studios and I want to know, and he won't tell us a thing. Really,
I can't say
He
a thing.
He can't.
I have not
contractually prevented.
My dad and my stepmother were there in the studio to watch, and so they know. But I have not even told my own brother.
Oh.
I have not told anybody.
Oh my goodness! I'm going to be watching. I'll tell you.
So, you as a fan of game shows are approaching this from probably a different perspective from some of the other contestants.
Yeah.
What was the most interesting thing about the experience from a technical perspective?
From a technical perspective, it was interesting just how few. So, like, I noticed there are a lot of things that you see on the air that don't happen exactly the way that you would expect. And one of the things is, if you watch the show, they show the game board. And they see the entire game board and all the clues, what's been exposed, what hasn't been exposed. There's no camera on the game board. There's no camera pointing at the game board in the studio. It's all a graphic.
Okay.
It's all a big graphic they
almost
put
like
up.
a chroma key. Almost.
It's not even a chroma key. It's just a full screen graphic that they put up, and they do it electronically.
Cool.
And that really caught me off guard.
I see.
They only have 2 cameras pointed at the contestants. One thing is that they only have one of the 2 cameras that are pointed at the contestants. One of them shows all 3 contestants, and then the other is in a close-up on whoever's responding to a clue. That's the only camera they have a person actually operating of those 2. And so during the opening of the show, for example, they show all 3 contestants in close-ups, one right after another, but they don't have enough cameras to do it. And so the person in the middle, at the middle lectern on the set, is pre-taped beforehand. So you don't know that going in, and they explain that to you when you're standing there on the set. They say, if you're at the middle lectern, we're going to pre-tape you looking right at the camera and smiling and waving and doing whatever for the opening. And during the opening of the show, they take the person on the far right, and then they go to a tape of the person in the middle, and then they go to the champion. So there are a lot of little technical things that were like that, but yeah.
Well, I know you can't tell us how you did, but can you tell us, did you ever trip up with this answering with the question thing?
I never had a problem doing that.
I wouldn't think you've been watching this for years.
I've been practicing that.
This pressure.
Yeah.
There was actually one thing that happened beforehand. You tape a series of promos for various stations. They call them hometown howdies. And you go up and you stand at the lectern, and they give you the button, and you hold the button up in front of you, and you hit the button, and you say, "Who is Ben Scripps?" That's me. And then they splice that into a promo that they put together, and they send it to stations. And so there were about 12 or 13 contestants there. We all did go up one at a time and do the thing. And so I'm watching the people as they're walking up there, and the people in front of me are like, "Who is John Smith?" That's me. And just reading it just like that, where it's just, and then somebody goes, "Who is Mary Anderson?" That's me. And it's like, I know something about this, and it's like, okay, I'm going to get up there. I'm going to give this a good performance. How am I going to read this line? And I got up there, and it was my turn. They say, okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. And I hit the button, and I go, I can't remember my line. And I'm just thinking, they told me, and I was like, okay, it was 6 words, 2 of which were my own name. And I can't. They tape Wheel of Fortune next door. Maybe that's more my speed today.
Oh, that is hysterical. Okay, so you did have one little, but it wasn't during the show.
It wasn't during the show.
So go ahead.
When you taped this show, this was at the very, very beginning of the COVID-19.
It was right at the start.
Okay.
And it was a little surreal for you because you had told me ahead of time there was no audience.
There was no audience. So they told us, I actually got the email just after the plane landed in Los Angeles. We landed on a Monday night. We taped on Tuesday morning. I landed, turned my phone on, and I saw the email from them that said, we're not going to have a studio audience. They said, your guests are still going to be allowed in, which
That's
was
nice.
I worried about that because Dad and Angela had flown all the way out there, and I thought, I'd hate for them to get out there and not be able to see the show.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of there were about 20, 25 people in the audience. People have asked me, was it weird not having an audience? And it's like, I don't know.
You were never there to see an
audience.
audience.
I don't have a baseline to reference.
So Ben, on a scale, let's say 10 is unbelievably nervous, shaking in your boots, and 1 is flatlining. Where were you with your nerves during this show?
I don't remember. It's
Sure.
funny. It's funny. I've told people that I know how the show ends, obviously, but I remember almost nothing within the show itself. I remember Final Jeopardy, but the whole first, the Jeopardy round and the double Jeopardy round, I don't remember any of it.
Was that adrenaline, maybe?
It was adrenaline, and it was just sort of, let's go, let's go, let's go. And yeah, I don't remember. I couldn't tell you any of the categories. Monday night, when it airs on Monday night, it will be as much of a surprise to me as it will be to our viewers.
Well, I want to hear about Alex Trebek. I mean,
he seems like a real nice guy. Unfortunately, I didn't get to talk to him very much.
Okay.
They have to keep him separate because he's been exposed to what they call game material. In other words, he's seen all the clues and the responses. So he's not allowed to talk to the contestants, just on the off chance that somebody says, oh, I was reading this book about such and such. And Alex says, oh, I just read a thing on the clue. Oops. And he spoils the game.
Oh.
And suddenly it's a fairness issue. So they have to keep him away from us.
That's actually good.
It's a very good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that the game show you're watching has been put together fairly and there's no advantages. And
so I keep telling people, I said, if you want to know what kind of a guy Alex is, if you want to get to talk to Alex, the best way is not to be a contestant, but to be in the audience.
Sure.
When you're a contestant, you don't, basically every single word that I spoke to Alex, you'll see on camera.
I see.
And as soon as the cameras fade to black, he says, okay, thanks. And he heads back to the dressing room.
What about the other contestants? I mean, did you talk to them? Did you interact?
Not during the show.
Okay.
During the show, it's funny, you don't socialize at all.
Okay.
During the show with the other two people who are on the set. Beforehand, it was such a great group of people. And I mean, I mean that about everybody who was out there.
You didn't trip anybody? You didn't?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
No, we were all really, it was a really great group of people. Both the contestants, everybody who worked there. It was a fantastic experience, and everybody was just terrific.
we continue our conversation with Cadillac resident and Jeopardy contestant Ben Scripps coming up on 107.9 CDY and Cadillac Unscripted. Our conversation continues with Cadillac resident and Jeopardy contestant Ben Scripps on 107.9 CDY. Cadillac Unscripted is sponsored by Independent Bank.
So, Ben, one of the things that when we've talked to health professionals, mental health professionals, one of the things that they've talked about in this pandemic is routine, being comforting for people. And imagine the ratings. Imagine the viewers of the show. I mean, there's going to be so many people watching you on Monday. That's exciting.
Well, that's, I'm not worried about that. I just want to be on Jeopardy.
But the promotional people sent you a picture that was taken with Alex.
Yeah, Alex, they come over during one of the commercial breaks, and Alex just kind of stands next to you, and they shoot you with the camera that they've got pointed at you, and then a couple of weeks before, they send a picture for you.
And they encourage you to throw that out on Facebook and
put it up on my
sure.
Facebook wall, and it's I've got a picture, I've got it printed, and I'm gonna get it framed and all that stuff. So,
will you watch it all the time now and never miss an episode?
oh, I already do.
And that's the only photo that you will have.
That is.
Besides taping the show.
Yep.
That you will have. Everything's going to be up here in your head.
They flat out tell you, they say, turn off your phone. When you get to the studio, you have to turn your phone off. So I have no pictures other than the ones that they sent me.
Yeah.
So.
Now you've got the bug, though. You're going to want to be on another game show for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, now
what's
next?
I've always wanted that.
Okay, but what's next?
I don't know. I don't know what's out there. There is a cooling off period that I have to follow.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah. I have to. One of the questions that they asked me was, "Have you been on any other game shows?" I think it was 2 years. You can't be on anything for like 2 years.
They don't want someone to be on the circuit.
That's right.
And it is interesting because if you go on YouTube, you will see various people who were contestants on shows. They have found their appearances and they post them on YouTube.
Yeah.
And there are people who were on multiple shows back in the day.
There were career game show contestants back in the day, in the heyday of game shows in the 80s, 70s, and 80s.
Right.
So
we grew up in the heyday of Match Game and Tattletales.
What was the pyramid one? I loved that one.
Oh, $25, $50, $100,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rich has some game show envy right now. I mean, he don't you?
I do. But when you posted it on Facebook that you got the call, I was like, oh my God, my friend is making his dream come true. This is fabulous.
I think you were the very first person to like that when I posted that too.
It was all a matter of timing. I happened to be on Facebook at the time, and it was like, oh, I smashed that like button as fast as I can.
Oh boy,
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
So, Rich, real quick, which game show would you pick if you could be on any one?
If I could be on any one, I would have loved to have been on the 70s and early 80s version of Match Game.
Okay.
Because the celebrities were funny. They were half in the bag.
I was just going to say, they were usually intoxicated.
Oh my gosh.
And Gene Rayburn was, in my estimation, probably the greatest game show host of all. I don't know if you agree with that, Ben. But
I would put Dick Clark and Alex Trebek above.
Okay.
But there's certainly a case
There's
to
the
be
Trinity
made.
right there.
That's the triumvirate of game shows.
So why don't we talk about the classic announcers? Because
Yes.
Johnny Gilbert has been on TV for 50 years, more than that.
Yeah.
He's the announcer
He is the announcer.
for Jeopardy. He is old.
He's 95 years old.
Yes.
He's 95.
So when you just remember, when you hear the words "this is Jeopardy,"
That's incredible.
95 years old.
Incredible.
And I was wondering if you had gotten to meet him.
I didn't get to meet him. He
Okay.
was not in the studio on the morning that we tape. They tape. So my episode was taped in the morning, and then they break for lunch, and then there's a couple of afternoon episodes that they tape. And I don't know if he just doesn't come in until later, or if he had an appointment or whatever, but he wasn't there for mine. So they had somebody stand in to basically fill in for him, and so I didn't actually get to hear him on the show, and that was kind of disappointing. I don't mind admitting, because that was going to be a big thrill for me, was getting to hear him say my name in that big booming voice of his. But then later on, I did hear him in the studio doing the pickups for it, doing the recording. So I kind of got to hear it, and I'll get to hear it on Monday night, of course. But
And I can't imagine how that's going. It's going to be surreal,
it's gonna
probably,
be
as you're
very
sitting there
surreal.
watching it.
It's going to be so surreal.
and you're going to tape it.
Oh, I'll tape it. I will find a tape. I'll find a VHS machine. I'll find a DVR. I'll point a camera. I'll point my phone at the TV.
Adjust the tracking.
I think that's your dream job, is to be the announcer on Jeopardy.
Well, here's the thing.
Okay.
I grew up as a Match Game fan, wanting to be Johnny Olsen.
Oh.
I just thought it was awesome that, a guy with, just by sitting there talking, could get people to clap and applaud and be happy. And
Yes.
And so, yeah, Johnny Olsen was an early influence of mine.
But these old school game shows they're difficult. I mean, they require some brain power. I look at things like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and I'm being critical, but where's the
Rich and I are looking at each other right now, just saying old school.
Okay.
Deal or no deal.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of only luck?
See what
That's
I mean?
No knowledge required.
Where's the come on.
You just say the same thing about Match Game too. You just needed to answer the questions with the right level of humor that matched the writers.
Right.
What the writers were thinking.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, modern day, and there has been. You are not as much into the modern day game shows, even though Match Game has been revived, Pyramid has been revived, To Tell the Truth has been revived.
I don't know. There's something missing from them, and I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but it's just there's a magic that's gone.
I agree. What about Family Feud? Family Feud? That's still fun.
In my opinion,
Oh boy,
it's become too salacious.
Yeah.
I think
there's an undercurrent you don't love.
They ask questions in a way that leads people into saying things that maybe you shouldn't say on television.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Whereas back in the Richard Dawson days, it was just pure.
Yeah.
Well, there was Give Me a Kiss though. There was that with him.
Well,
but
yeah.
If you think that was innocent. Yeah, right.
I wasn't referring to the kissing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're the questions.
Yeah.
I see. Well, so if we said to you, like, right now, can you do a hometown howdy? Could you do it?
I suppose I could.
Okay, let's hear it.
Just like on the show?
Yeah.
Punch your button.
Who is Ben Scripps? That's me!
That sounds really good.
Yeah, see, and I remembered my line this time.
But that's what they say when you're under the gun in unfamiliar waters.
Yep.
That everybody's got a choke factor.
Yep.
It's just so funny because when you said the other contestants were so lackluster and that you were just so
I
fired
was
up.
all set to go, and then boy, oh boy.
I love it.
So, did you start watching Jeopardy when it first? Were you familiar with the Art Fleming version years ago?
No, it predated me a little bit. I
Okay.
might have seen it when I was really young because it went off. The original version went off when I was about 6. So I might have seen it, but I wouldn't have understood it. But I definitely remember it was a family thing for us, sitting on the couch, me and my mom and dad, and my brother and I, sitting on the couch, starting in 1984, watching that show every night down in Grand Rapids. And it was just a kind of a ritual for us.
I think there's a lot of families. I mean, Wheel of Fortune is another one. And when you hear Pat Sajak and Vanna White talk about all these years together, and I saw an interview with her She lives a very quiet life. She goes home at night or after a taping, and females just want her wardrobe, and that's what we're thinking about, is all of her beautiful gowns and outfits and things like that. But I saw an interesting interview with her that she doesn't like all the fanfare when the taping is done, and that she and Pat are very good friends.
Well, and I think Pat's 40th anniversary on Wheel of Fortune is coming up, I think, next year.
Yeah, something
You
like that.
should throw your hat in the ring. What's your waiting period?
Oh, no.
Why?
Oh, no. Oh, to be on Wheel of
Yes.
Fortune? No. No, I'm not good at those puzzles. I'm not as good as on Jeopardy.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you?
And that wheel is heavy, too.
It sounds like work.
Yeah, it's a little too close to work for me.
So if a celebrity lives long enough, they reach some sort of level of Betty Whiteness. Alex has reached that point. I mean, he is, I think he's 77, 78, something
Somewhere
like
in that area,
Wow.
Obviously, recently diagnosed last year with a form of cancer that is typically very aggressive.
Which, and I should add, by the way, we were talking a little bit about COVID-19 earlier. They were so cautious with him, and understandably so. When we were there, we did not shake his hands. He came over at the end of the show. Usually he shakes everybody's hands, and they just flat out said, don't shake hands. And we did that, obviously, out of an abundance of caution. And they were super careful about cleaning everything down while we were there. So, because, obviously with Alex, you don't want to mess with that sort of thing.
Yeah, he's been hosting Jeopardy for 36 years.
That's right.
Incredible.
And the number of game shows that he hosted in the 70s and early 80s is very long.
Yeah.
Very, very long.
Is that right?
It is. Do yourself a favor, Katie. Look up a show called Double Dare.
Oh, yes.
Okay, really?
Oh,
It's that good?
Use the exact same theme song as the early 80s version of Card Sharks.
Yep.
Okay, can you hear yourselves right now?
Yeah.
Nobody knows this stuff.
We
We do.
I love it.
Yeah, so...
Okay, I'll do it.
So but Alex has got the big black
big
hair
afro and the mustache.
the dark mustache. You wouldn't even recognize him.
Oh, I've got to do this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll show that to you.
Okay.
So the show is on Monday night.
Monday night.
Okay, and we'll look forward to seeing how you do.
I hope to be on Tuesday night. We shall see.
And that's one thing you cannot reveal.
I cannot reveal.
Okay.
So Ben, let me ask you. You're still excited about it? Was it everything the experience, everything that you wanted it to be?
I can tell you that during one of the commercial breaks, I was standing there on the stage, and I had this sort of, I don't want to call it an epiphany, but it was just sort of an absolute, complete understanding that this was absolutely true. I will never again in my life have this much fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was one of those things you think about. Everybody has that moment where you're just never going to, this is the top of my life.
Yes.
And you're so lucky if you realize when it's happening. And I knew.
Stop and smell the roses.
You stop and smell the roses. And it was just, I just stood there and I thought, this is it. This is the
that's
best.
Wonderful.
This is absolutely cool.
You can still hear the enthusiasm in your voice
it
and
was
see it
so
on
much
your
fun.
face.
It was so much fun.
And I can relate to that because, certain jobs that I've had in my past, I look back and say, man, I wish I'd have had more fun. Because that was a great time in my life, and I was too busy worrying about, coworkers and,
Politics.
complaining about this and that. And it's like, yeah.
Well, with age comes wisdom. See?
Yes,
that's part
absolutely.
of it.
I hope so. Because we're not getting any younger.
What? You're talking about Ben. Yes.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us
All
here.
right.
Ben, we appreciate your time, and
Thanks.
we will look forward to, I will personally look forward to watching a friend make a dream come true on Monday night.
I will too.
I'm going to have buttered popcorn, and I'm going to be right in front of the TV.
That's Cadillac's Ben Scripps talking about his appearance on Jeopardy on Monday night. Ben, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are you going to sing us out?
Oh, sure.
I thought you were going to. Let me turn. Keep going. I'll turn her mic down, and I will say, over top of the music, this has been Cadillac Unscripted, sponsored by Independent Bank on 107.9 CDY.